On behalf of the students, faculty, and administration here at UVU, it is our pleasure and honor to welcome you to this ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Reflection Center. My name is Birch. I have the pleasure and privilege of directing the Religious Studies program here on campus and working with some of the finest colleagues on this project and other related projects in our Religious Studies program. So it's an honor to be here. There are many dignitaries and organizations and individuals who have had a hand in this project. Collectively, I want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This has been a truly collaborative enterprise, and we've designed the program today to show you how the Reflection Center really is a shared partnership between students, academic faculty, administrators, community members, religious leaders, governmental leaders. This Reflection Center, we believe, is an example of the kind of university we are, which tries to integrate and connect academic study, right, rigorous, serious study with experiential opportunities for our students and, most importantly, dialogue between faith communities and those who do not share faith or who have different ethical perspectives. So I want to talk just a few minutes about the academic dimension. That will be my contribution to the program. And then you will hear from Alexis Palmer, who is our Dean of Students and new Associate Vice President for Student Life. She will talk about the Reflection Center within the context of this beautiful facility and within the context of the student experience from student life. Following Alexis, we'll hear from Linda Walton, a longtime chaplain in our community and advisor to the Interfaith Student Club. Linda is a fixture here on campus and is the one who had conceptualized this space before most anyone else had. And so Linda has been here for the long haul, and she will share her perspective on the Reflection Center from the community standpoint. After Linda, we'll be privileged to hear from our guest of honor today, Dr. Eboo Patel, who's the founder and president of the Interfaith Youth Corps, and who will be our featured speaker at the presidential lecture at 1 o'clock. So as you can tell, time is of the essence, and we're on an expeditious schedule here today. So again, thank you, Eboo, who just arrived safely about an hour and a half ago. I said to him, my prayers were answered that your flight arrived on time, and his response was, no, my prayers were answered. Game on. Finally, we'll hear from President Holland, without whom none of this would be possible. When President Holland first came to campus, one of the first things he said publicly was that he would like to see a Reflection Center facility built like this. And so it has been such an honor and privilege to work with him to execute his vision and what he wanted to see for this facility. And we hope that it stands as a symbol and as something that will be part of his legacy many decades and generations into the future. So just a minute or two about academics, and then I'll turn it over to Alexis. We've been doing academic work in religious diversity for about 20 years now. So my journey here started in 1995 when we hosted a conference called How Should We Think About Religious Diversity? And to my astonishment, we were able to get nationally recognized high-quality scholars here to talk about just the question of what religious diversity means in our community. And with the wonderful support of administrators, President Romsberg, Lucille Stoddard, Elaine Engelhardt, these academic programs germinated, they were cultivated and supported through the last 2 decades. And I am deeply grateful that I have had the support, and my colleagues have had the support to build this program slowly and deliberately and in a way that was continually reaching out to different constituencies to make sure that we were doing this in the right way and not moving too fast or too slow. We've had the privilege over these past 20 years to host approximately 100 different events. So each year we have a major conference on some aspect of religious diversity. We host an annual Mormon Studies Conference, which comes as no surprise in this community that we would want to study a natural resource in our region. We host workshops, student group, club meetings. And so the Reflection Center is really just the brick and mortar component to a larger set of programs that we've been working on for quite some time and which we hope will continue far into the future. And to have this space, not only for our students to be able to pray and reflect and meditate and to have solace and to contribute to their wellness, we also wanted a space that would contribute to dialogue and study and interaction and cooperative enterprises. And so we've designed the space in such a way that each of the 3 rooms has a different function relative to what we're trying to do within this broader vision as a university, which is to combine the academic component of the student experience here with the experiential, spiritual component of what the student is experiencing. And that's rather unique. Historically, these kinds of facilities have resided in student life facilities very disconnected from academic affairs. So you would have academic religious studies departments or theology departments, which really wouldn't care much and want to be connected with the experiential side, and the reverse was true. We want to bring those 2 things together so that we're addressing the student as they are in their whole self. And we think that we've accomplished this, and we look forward to your feedback as we go forward with this project.
On behalf of the Student Life and Wellness Center, I am thrilled to be here in support of the Reflection Center. I think it's appropriate that the Reflection Center found a home here in the Student Life and Wellness building. Our goal in student life isn't just about creating fun opportunities for our students, but it's about serving the whole student. It's about addressing every need that our student might have so that they can be successful here at UVU. So for our students, it's about mind, body, and spirit. It's about looking at every component and knowing what we can do to help with that. And as I was walking over here, one of my good friends, Kenna Matthews from Habitat for Humanity, mentioned to me about some students last year, some of our Muslim students, who had to pray in the bathroom. They had to find a stall, and that's where they had to do their worship. That's unacceptable, and I'm thrilled that we have a place now for our students to go to meditate, to reflect, and to have prayer and experience their religious expression in the way that is appropriate for them. Because when those needs aren't met, they're not going to be successful in their academic classes and as they're pursuing their degree here. And so I'm thrilled that we can be that unit to help them succeed. And I can't think of a better place for the Reflection Center to be. Do we have any students here? If you are a student, can you raise your hand? We have a few students here. I hope that you really will find solace and support by coming here to the Reflection Center and having us be able to help you achieve your goals. And I'm thrilled that student affairs and academic affairs can have such a strong partnership. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for supporting this critical aspect that our students need. Thank you.
Back in the early 1940s, Central Utah Vocational School was founded. This institution evolved into Utah Technical College, Utah Valley Community College, Utah Valley State College, and now Utah Valley University. And it always evolved in order to meet the various needs of the community. My family has been privileged to be associated with every layer of that institution, starting with my great uncle, Joe Perry, who was an auto mechanics teacher. I've been able to serve on campus as a chaplain and co-advisor for the Interfaith Club, and then I've also been associated with the Utah Valley Ministerial Association, which represents about 38 faith groups, and that's expanding every single day right here in this county. Now, both organizations, the student and the community, have a similar goal, and that is one sentence: moving from tolerance to love. We should only tolerate Brussels sprouts, not brothers and sisters on this planet. Our goals include religious liberty for everyone and community service to help anyone in need. And those are our 2 goals. About 15 years ago, we became aware of the student need for this facility here. and also for charitable reasons. We found that students were practicing their faith in the restroom, as was mentioned, or in their car. They were also living in their cars and showering in the gymnasium. This community is capable of providing for both needs, and today we are celebrating the dedication of the first part of that, the Reflection Center. Now, we're not merely called to tolerate those who disagree with us, we are called to love them. The world's idea of tolerance is a parody to a positive understanding of love. Tolerance is passive, love is active. Tolerance is a feeling of apathy. Love is accompanied by feelings of great affection. Tolerance keeps people at an arm's length in hopes of not offending them. Love embraces people where they are and hopes all things. Tolerance leaves people alone as individuals. Love ushers people into a community of generosity. Tolerance keeps a safe distance between those in need, and love rolls up its sleeves in service, even to those who may be unlikable. Tolerance avoids confrontation in order to maintain peace, and love tells the truth boldly and graciously in order to bring about a deeper, more lasting peace. Last Friday, we had the honor of hosting a group of visitors from Indonesia. They marveled at this facility and the fact that we would allow this kind of freedom. In my opinion, right here is the very best place on the planet. We celebrate today the fact that people from all over the world will come here to be educated. And this Reflection Center is part of our provision for students, faculty, staff, and visitors. I want to thank every one of you who had something to do with this. I know some were praying about it, some were talking to students about it, some were doing other things on campus. The list is too long, but I really would like to thank you all. And I would also like to suggest that routinely you would come over here and use this facility. Thank you.
It's such an honor to be here for a very important moment in the history of this university. Brian and my team at Interfaith Youth Corps have been talking for about 2 years, and so we were really praying, all of us, for that flight to arrive on time. So I want to just share a brief story, and then I have a larger talk later today. There's this beautiful story about a Hindu Maharaja in the western state of India called Gujarat, who finds out that a small Sufi community has settled in his area. And he sends an emissary from his group to the sheikh of the Sufi community with a full glass of milk. And the indication is that we are full here and we don't need you. And there's multiple ways that the story is told from there. One way is the sheikh puts on the glass of milk a rose petal and sends it back. The other is that the sheikh stirs in a spoonful of sugar into the milk and sends it back. The implication of both, of course, is that we are here to live in harmony with your community, to add sweetness and beauty to it. So what strikes me about being at Utah Valley University right now is that you are the ones with the full glass of milk who have deliberately, proactively looked around and said, there are rose petals here, there is sugar here, and we are going to take it upon ourselves to stir the sugar in, to put the rose petals on. You didn't wait for somebody else to tell you, we insist on being a part of this community. You didn't indicate that your full glass of milk meant that nobody else could join. You made a decision to yourself that the diversity around you could enrich a public university with a 90% LDS population. I'll tell you, we've been doing this work at Interfaith Youth Corps for 12 years. We've probably had a footprint on some 250, 300 campuses in the country, and we know about the interfaith tremors on many, many more. And I can probably count on one hand the public universities, Penn State, University of Wisconsin and Madison, who come anywhere close to the kind of commitment that you're making here. There are shadow sides to diversity when it is not welcomed. There are thorns on the stems of roses. There is salt on the table and not sugar. It is when diversity is welcomed. It is when you expect the people around you to add beauty and sweetness that you get a cup full of milk with sugar inside rather than salt. that you get roses on top rather than thorns. You've made that proactive decision. May it continue to bear fruit for your university community, for the state of Utah, for the nation and the world. Thank you.
Well, welcome, everybody. Religion can be a tricky thing, even amongst friends. I was reminded of that recently in an exchange with a good friend of mine, Robbie George, a very prominent Catholic intellectual who was visiting our state for an event, and he's a good friend of mine. And he was scheduled to be speaking in Salt Lake the same night that we were hosting an event here on campus on religious liberty. And the keynote address was being offered by Mike Leavitt, a former cabinet officer and favorite son of the state and someone I know well, and felt torn that night between two things, but I really felt I needed to be there in Salt Lake to support my friend Robbie George. And so afterwards, I went up to him, and we had had this exchange. I told him what I was facing, and he had told me, under no uncertain circumstances should you come to be with me tonight. You should be in Orem, support Governor Leavitt, go to that important event. I don't want to see you. Well, I ignored him, and in an act of friendship and loyalty to him. And as I came up to him, he greeted me, "What on earth are you doing here?" And I said, "Robbie, the only thing I can think of to do in this circumstance," again, Robbie, this very, very Catholic guy, "is to quote Martin Luther, who once famously said, here I stand, I can do no other." And Robbie's instant response was, he was wrong then and he's wrong tonight. These are the things that challenge us sometimes, even amongst friends, when it comes to religion. And all the more reason that we do what we're doing today. And I couldn't be more grateful for this turnout. I want to acknowledge the presence of our mayors, Mayor Curtis and Mayor Brunst, Steve Lund, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, our cabinet officers, faculty, students, community leaders, religious leaders, donors, who've all come together to celebrate this very important moment. Thank you for being here. Ibu, thank you for landing safely, for prayers being answered. You've got a little bit of a taste there for why this man is in such demand across the nation, recognized recently by U.S. News & World Report as one of the great leaders in this country, leaders across virtually any dimension. And his figure and influence is being felt in so many places in so many ways, leading what's now become really a global youth movement on interfaith understanding. I hope that you will all, after this ribbon cutting, stick around for Dr. Patel's speech, which will be our first of two presidential lecture series. These are the most prominent, preeminent lectures that we do on campus for the year, and he will be our speaker this semester, and I couldn't be more grateful for your willingness to do that for us. Well, this center is the brainchild of a lot of people, really, who are here today, and I'm thankful for those that have been given voice to that. Brian Birch, who's worked tirelessly on bringing this together, bringing the parties together. Linda Walton, who's been a friend of mine for many, many years, and we've talked about this, dreamed about this for quite some time, and appreciate her energies. Bob Rasmussen, who hasn't spoken, but who was really here at the very beginning to make this happen in terms of the design of this magnificent structure that we're in. There are other people too, I'm probably remiss, but at least those three I think have played a really special role. I think it would be worth having each of those three stand and let us recognize your great service and contribution today. Well, this Reflection Center is itself a reflection, an outward symbol of UVU's commitment to inclusiveness, one of our core themes. We champion inclusiveness amongst our students, our faculty, our staff, our programs, and even our infrastructure. We believe that as an institution, we will make much further gain, if you will, by understanding each other, respecting our differences, and promoting the energy that can come from unity and mutual trust. While the structure here and the architecture itself are magnificent and inspiring in their own ways, it's really the ideas and the thoughts that occur here that will distinguish it as a leading place on our campus and hopefully in the hearts and minds of our students and faculty who take advantage of it. This is also a reflection of something that I think is a little more unique about UVU. There are many places that at least espouse a commitment to inclusiveness. It's sort of a trendy thing these days. But this is our commitment to human spirituality. I say that without any sort of sectarian bias or even any religious bias per se, but to acknowledge what many people are acknowledging now, religious and non-religious people, people of faith, people without faith, is that there is something about spirituality that is important to many, many human beings, a recognition that there is a spiritual side to us, and that as a public institution we can simply recognize that without showing favoritism or lending undue influence or advantage to one side over the other, that we can create some spaces that will allow that spirituality to flourish and that understanding to come with it. I'd like to quote the Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. I do so in part because Dr. Patel has cited him as an influence in his own development, and I thought a LDS leader here, quoting a Jewish rabbi who's the hero of a Muslim activist, would be the ultimate inclusive moment. So, the strength of faith is in silence and in words that hibernate and wait. Uttered faith must come out as a surplus of silence, as the fruit of lived faith of enduring intimacy. For the layperson, what this suggests is that whatever else we may do in our religious and civil lives that's active and concrete and engaged, there's an important moment for all of us that can come, or important energies that can come, insights that can come from silence and reflection. And we must have and create those spaces on this campus, and we have done so. The third thing I'd like to say about why we're doing this, besides the fact that it reflects our inclusiveness, that it reflects our commitment to human spirituality, is that it reflects our commitment to, I think, an important civic obligation. Today, 231 years ago, the Treaty of Paris was signed that concluded the end of the Revolutionary War. Now, that war was about many things. It was about economics, it was about liberty and politics and autonomy and many things. But in many ways, it was a conflict that started years and years and years before 1776, and it was about religious understanding, or interreligious understanding, or frankly, a lack of interreligious understanding, about a people who wanted to come and be able to pursue their faith in a more open and inclusive way than was being allowed in the continent at the time. And that at its founding, in the aftermath of that revolutionary, would stamp into its most sacred documents a commitment to religious liberty, to religious pluralism, where all who may come could pursue their beliefs as they saw fit. And so on this day, when there are threatening forces in the world, which are growing, actually, here we are years and centuries after that war, and those problems have not gone away, and in some parts of the world they are worse. And so I think all the more reason that we have a center like this on campus, that we have academic programs like Dr. Birch and his colleagues are creating, along with our help with his colleagues and the Friends of the Center for the Study of Ethics, that we do so, that we promote engagement, peaceful dialogue, our programs in peace and justice. This university, in doing these things, provides a balancing force, and in particular, our reflection and interreligious center here promotes the best of this human spirituality that I believe can be conducive to the peace we want to reign in this world, and can be an antidote to the religious strife that is a challenge of our day. And so for these reasons, Please join me now, and I invite our dignitaries to come forward in this very spectacular and historic moment at Utah Valley University as we cut the ribbon on our new Reflection Center. Thank you very much.